Beyond the potential loss in lives is the cost in dollars. And lawmakers say if there is a second war with Iraq, it probably won't come this year. But whenever it does come, the U.S. will need to focus as much on rebuilding Iraq's government as taking out the current regime. Andrew Stack for CBS News, Washington. I went to Iraq by myself. Can you see anybody over my back, over my shoulder? No crew to speak of. I shot, wrote, and edited all of my own stories, feeding them back to the States over a portable satellite modem. Well, for the past 2 weeks, Abrams battle tanks from the 4th ID have been test firing their main guns, zeroing them in, preparing for the push north into Iraq. Consequently, the boom from those guns and the concussion from them can be felt all across Camp Udari. About a half an hour ago, the gunfire started here, and we've seen nothing but tracers going into the air ever since that time. But there's been a combination of tracers, not just the Iraqi celebratory fire, but also guns from some of the Bradley fighting vehicles stationed out at the gate. Holy shit. First night back in Baghdad. Welcome back. Now, as you can see there, it was basically pandemonium. The third explosion blew all of our windows in. The ceilings were collapsing. A lot of people pretty scared at that point. Fortunately, we didn't have any injuries or deaths on our staff, but there were 17 people killed that night. It's something none of us will ever forget. And so this morning when we heard about this, you can bet a lot of us were pretty happy to see Zarqawi gone. Let's say these glasses are the equivalent of dollars already in circulation, and the water contained in them is equivalent to their value. Then along come these new dollars, courtesy of the Federal Reserve. They have to get their value from somewhere, and that value comes from the dollars already in circulation, which causes all of the dollars to go down in value. And the girl's stepfather, Paul Culver, says hardly a day passes he doesn't think of Stacy. He says he's also happy Powell is being executed, but says no form of punishment can bring closure for him. Candidly, he told me he would prefer if justice officials would allow him some time alone with Powell so he can dispense his own brand of justice.
Wow. Guess you can't really blame him for feeling that way. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Andrew.
Sure thing, Derek. Maybe he would have gotten away with it if he hadn't brought in the exact same eyeglasses for repair or worn the same jacket. But he did do those things, and they did notice. Well, Anita, we managed to obtain this exclusive advance copy of that GAO report, and in it, the GAO outlines a few problems, not with phony passports, but rather with possible terrorists using phony documentation to obtain real passports. Dulles International Airport, gateway for overseas flights to the capital of the United States. Travelers don't seem surprised to hear the GAO's latest findings.
I'm not surprised because it's almost akin to people who will do anything to break into your home.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Neil Livingstone is the lead investigator for the 9/11 lawsuits and says the GAO report isn't news to him either.
I can go to Columbia Road here in Washington. I can buy a green card. I can buy a driver's license. I can bribe someone in the District of Columbia probably to actually get me a real driver's license.
Or, says Livingstone, he might even be able to use some of that phony documentation to obtain a real driver's license. In fact, an undercover GAO investigator succeeded in obtaining 4 genuine U.S. passports during the course of this report. All involved stealing or fabricating the identity of an American citizen. Arizona Senator John Kyle had this to say: a U.S. passport is a key to virtually anywhere in the world. It's very troubling that in the years since the September 11 attacks, someone could use fraudulent documents to obtain a U.S. passport.
We need a biometric so that I know that when you come in that it matches your fingerprint or your eye geometry or whatever else.
Now, in all fairness, the State Department says it really needs more time to vet applicants for passports. Believe it or not, if you apply for a passport, a rush passport that is, you can obtain one in less than 24 hours. Reporting live from Dulles Airport, Andrew Stack, 9 News Now on WUSA9.com.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Today in Iraq, as Fox News correspondent Andrew Stack reports, the ingenuity of one American soldier is showing the way.
Nearly 50% of all U.S. troops killed in Iraq are killed like this. So the U.S. military transformed most of its Humvees from this to this last year. Now virtually all are fully armored, but there's still one problem. how to protect the gunner on top.
I came up with the idea from one of our soldiers actually being hit.
Chief Swanson of the 10th Mountain Division is credited with saving more lives through innovation than any other soldier in Iraq.
Saved my life. I'm here to talk about it today.
Swanson's invention is known as, what else? The Swanson Shield, a transparent barrier surrounding gunners, preventing bullets and shrapnel from hitting them.
When they took direct fire, they actually were up, and they saw the blast or the gunfire come at them, and they were protected behind the bulletproof glass.
When the Swanson Shield is assembled, it looks like it's all one piece, but in reality, it's just an ingenious piece of American engineering, using 3 old Humvee windshields that have already been shot up, but are still bulletproof. And to show us just how strong the glass still is, Swanson has a soldier fire at one of the windshields. From the other side, this is what a soldier inside the Swanson Shield sees. It's very startling, but you are still breathing.
That's what it's all about. It's about protecting my gunners up top so they can be up and do what they got to do without fear of being hit by indirect fire.
And that's not the only improvement. This Humvee sports the next generation turret gun. The Crow system removes the gunner from the roof and places him at the controls of a remotely operated .50 caliber machine gun.
It's much safer in here. You don't have to worry about a sniper.
From outside, all I can see is the barrel moving, but from inside, this is what Specialist Young sees.
In here, I can use the thermals at night and pick out anything with a heat signature.
It's a heartwarming feeling to be stopped at the PX and say, "You're Chief Swanson. Hey, I just want to thank you for what you've done with your shields, because I know you saved my life, or you saved my buddy's life." And I tell you, that's what makes your whole day in this country worthwhile.
At Camp Liberty with the 10th Mountain Division, Andrew Stack, Fox News.
Digital correspondent Andrew Stack's been, can I say it, sniffing around on this one? Andrew?
Well, Derek, I spent most of this evening at a chemistry lab at George Washington University and learned firsthand pretty much everyone in the district has traces of cocaine on their money. If the latest research is correct, this is still the most popular method for ingesting cocaine. Not using $100 bills, but rather 5s, 10s, and 20s.
And the molecular weight is...
Dr. Akos Vertes and his assistant are attempting to recreate study results inside GW's chem lab.
This is a technique that was recently discovered by Graham Cook at Purdue University.
So for the purposes of testing money off the street, I'm going to go into my own wallet, pull out a couple of the required 10s and 20s, and give them to you, Doctor.
Okay.
And tell me, what do you find on this money?
We can do that.
While Akos and his assistant get to work, we take to the streets, trying to understand how the amount of cocaine on DC's money has grown by 20% over the past 2 years.
The high rollers are using cocaine, to me.
Former Mayor Marion Barry has a theory.
From what I can gather from the study, Washington no different than a lot of other large cities, but it means a shift in drug use.
Tough times might be driving a rise in cocaine use, but it might also be getting on money as contaminated bills mix with others inside ATMs. Back in the lab, my bills are literally under the gun.
We apply high voltage. This high voltage drives the liquid to the tip of the paper. They give off ions, and these ions are characteristic of the chemicals that were on the paper.
And the results?
There it is.
There it is.
It is the actual cocaine.
The amounts of cocaine being found on most of the money around the district is from trace amounts on up to, say, about 50 grains of sand, about that much. So it's not a ton of cocaine that we're talking about here, so I don't think anybody's going to be getting any reaction from it.
All right, but still fascinating stuff. Thank you so much, Andrew Stack. We appreciate that.